Good evening, everybody. What's up? What's up? What is good with you all? I am just testing the stream on my other device. Y'all know how it goes. Trying to make sure that we are here and that everybody can see us. Um, as people are joining, go ahead and say something in the chat so that I know you're here. So I know who is tuning in with us today. Device, y'all know how it goes. Okay. Trying to make sure that we are. All right. So it looks like we are good to go. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight to What's Good with Ebony Chappelle. I am your host, Ebony Chappelle. And tonight I am coming to you guys. I am actually working remotely right now, visiting some friends down south. But I couldn't let time go by without hopping on to talk about Monumental Voices. So if you guys are not aware about Monumental Voices, you're going to find out all about that here in a second with our special guest this evening, Miss Tierra Bush. Tierra, if you guys don't know, she does a lot of great things in the city. One, she is the president of the exchange at the Indianapolis Urban League. She is a fantastic event planner. She happens to be one of my really good friends. We've known each other for a long time, so a little bit of shameless plug there. And she is doing outreach along with gang culture to bring awareness to Monumental Voices, which is their latest initiative to help gather information about what people really think about downtown Indianapolis. So we're going to go ahead and bring Tierra onto the stream. Hey, Tierra, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great. It's so good to be talking with you this evening. So go ahead. I gave you a little bit of an intro, but go ahead and tell the people a little bit about you.
Man. This is such a difficult thing for me to do.
I know. I put you on the spot with that.
You did, but I'm glad you set me up with a few little, check marks on the receipts. So Tierra Bush, lifelong Indy native. Again, I'm a event planner, do a few weddings, mostly corporate planning, associations now is what I'm into professionally, which has been awesome. All around hospitality chick. Love talking to people, but I'm also very much an introvert. So sometimes that doesn't really pair up, but that's just who I am. Again, like Ebony said, the president of the exchange at the Indianapolis Urban League. It's been a great almost 8 months in that role. So very
Congratulations
exciting.
again.
Thank you. Navigating all this mad pandemic stuff and, still trying to keep people engaged. It's tough. But I know that I'm in a great group of other presidents that are, on this weird journey with me. So it's awesome. And I love the team too, that we have, our leadership team, just trying to help us figure it out and navigate these weird times. It's just weird.
Yes.
What else do? I don't know. I call myself a serial volunteer. Me and my mother and also my grandfather, we do a lot of volunteer things together. I can run down the list, but like with Indy Sports Corps, volunteering for a lot of the NCAA events, some professional sporting events, Broad Ripple Arts Fair, Indiana Black Expo, with Classic and the Summer Celebration. What don't we volunteer for? I don't know. So
listen, you would be hard pressed to find out because y'all literally, like you said, you volunteer for everything all the time. So it's one of the things that, there's a lot of things that I admire about you, but I think that is one of the top things is just your commitment to staying involved and staying engaged in the community. What would you say is your reasoning behind staying so committed? Because you could be literally doing anything with your time, as busy as you are. So what is your reasoning for staying engaged like that?
The first reason, I guess not the reason now necessarily, but what got me kind of into these things and out was really just trying to expand my experience. Again, being a hospitality professional is what I call myself. I'm very much into events, but I can transition quickly. It's just wanting to expand my experience and see what it was like, navigating different areas of the customer or the guest or the attendee experience. So it started at the like tail end of college, just wanting to learn more. But as I kind of got out more, it got me out of my shell more. Like if you're my friends, like, I'm wild. But if you don't know me
We
very
ain't gonna tell them
well,
all the details on that, because then I had to tell on myself, and we're not gonna do that today.
that's okay.
That's a different show. Yeah.
I can laugh and have a good time. But like, if you don't know
Yeah.
me, it's really hard to pull me out of my shell sometimes. So I like intentionally put myself in positions that forces me to get out and to talk to people, which I like to do, but it's just initiating that is difficult for me. So I said, I have to learn this. If I want to be around people professionally, I have to learn how to start conversations. And it's almost 33 years in this life game, and that's still very hard for me. Um, so that was kind of like the inception of why, I've gotten involved, is to better develop myself. But why I stay involved is because I love it. I love talking to the people. One of the very first things I ever volunteered for was for Super Bowl when it came here in 2012. And getting to meet all the people that weren't just from Chicago or from Louisville or Cincinnati. There are literally people that I met that came from Europe and Australia just to see the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And I thought that was absolutely amazing. So I think just those experiences of being able to meet different people, meet people from different walks of life in walks of, soil across the globe, is what excites me about continuing to engage with people. And then also Indy is my home. So I love being able to talk about us and to present the city in its best light. And I know that there are several people that are like paid to do that. But the people that, are on the ground are really creating the experiences. So that's what I enjoy doing. Again, talking to somebody that I met getting off of a bus that said that they're here from Australia back in 2012. Like, how many more people are going to have that experience and be able to have that conversation when we're just sitting in the middle of White River State Park in February when we thought it was going to be cold, but it was actually a perfect weekend.
Yes, we got super blessed with Super Bowl for a lot of different reasons, but the weather was definitely one of them. And I love what you mentioned about the things that keep you engaged, is having those interactions that are so unplanned. Like, you don't sign up to volunteer thinking I'm going to be able to mix and mingle with people all over the world and get to expose them to my city. And I think that is one of the things that just makes this all so cool. When you're having those interactions with people, which ties in really good with Monumental Voices, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But when you're having these interactions with people, what do you like to share with them most about why you love the city?
From my personal experience with the city, you know, there's sunny skies, there's cloudy days, but from my experience, I feel like when I talk to people, I say Indianapolis is a city, a major city. People try to throw salt on us a little bit, but we're a
They
major
do.
city.
We are. We are.
But it does have a hometown feel. And I know sometimes people say that's a little small, but whatever. Like, I like it. I like that I'm able to go anywhere here and for the most part know somebody or feel comfortable. And again, I'm not like mad social, but I do like I'm going to feel at home anywhere I run into people. And I also like that even beyond a personal perspective, that people feel that way when they come here to visit. We've coined the term Hoosier hospitality. And it's not something that we turn on and turn off. It's just what it is. That's what it is. And I tell people all the time, my sister, she was getting on me about taking clothes the other day. I needed to borrow some clothes and I just took them. She was like, how would you feel if I went to your apartment and took stuff and went through your drawers? And I'm like, actually, Jada, I would like just give you something before you leave. I feel like the last time you're over here, I just gave you something. Like, literally, I'm like the old granny And if
Listen,
you come
you
over
blessed
here, you
me.
walk away with something.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love that. I love that so much. And you really do embody that personally and with the work you do. Like, I just want to clue y'all in. Tierra definitely hooks people up. Like, one of my favorite dresses that I have worn for so many different things, like here recently, was something that you gifted me. Listen, I could just run down the line of stuff. We could just turn this into a whole love fest right now. But I just love that you embody that, and I think it is really important because those interactions, they mean so much when it comes to how people respond and how they remember things overall, how they remember the experience. It's one thing to have the fabulous event set up and have all the right people there and do this and do that, do all the things that are on the list to have an event or whatever. But it's those personal interactions that people really remember. Something comes to mind that Maya Angelou said, and if you guys are Maya Angelou fans and I screw up this quote, don't judge me. But it was something to the effect of, people, they may not remember, the things you do or like what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. It was something to that effect. And I think that goes so perfectly when it comes to civic engagement and volunteerism and all of that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and for all the great work that you're doing.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I want to jump into Monumental Voices now. So, for people that have maybe seen some of the posts on social media, or heard talk of it around town, or maybe even ran into you out at Juneteenth, promoting it to the folks, bring us up to speed on what Monumental Voices is.
Yes. So, in a nutshell, Monumental Voices is a project, a movement that is seeking to get engagement from Indianapolis residents on how they feel about public spaces in downtown Indianapolis. And very specifically, it is the Monument Circle, Georgia Street, Luger Plaza, and the Canal. So, we know a lot of things happen in those spaces. Literally, the Monument Circle is the heart of the city. And we want people to tell us their experiences, give us their feedback about how they feel about those spaces, whether that be good, neutral, bad, um, and what they would like to see for the future of those spaces. So one thing that comes to mind is talking about the Strawberry Festival. We know that
Mm.
happens every year and that happens on the circle.
Shout out to Elise in Christchurch Cathedral. Shout out to
Please,
them.
thank you. That church is beautiful also.
Yeah.
But we talk about the Strawberry Festival and like, what are your experiences? If I go down there and I get strawberries and blah blah blah, and I look forward to this every year, like we want to hear that. What we also want to hear are your experiences being on the circle, and it wasn't so good. So we know that a year ago it was supercharged all across the
Yeah.
globe. But just the way that our local activists not definitely stepped up and fought for Black rights. Black LGBTQ, etc. rights. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a lot, so don't quote me on missing all the letters and the acronyms, but everybody was out there, and it was exciting. It was exciting to see that. It was exciting to see our people stand up for that. Um, Even though it was scary, it was like, this is great. And we get to see like our city and our monuments, and our people tell us, that they demand to be heard, um, that they demand to be seen, that we deserve these particular rights. Um, just the basic right to like live
Yeah.
without, crap. So, and that's kind of the point of Monumental Voices. We want to hear about the strawberry festivals, but we also want to hear about the supercharged times, or when you feel like you can't go out there because you're going to be harassed, or when you just kicking it with the motorcycle crew. Like, tell us about that too. Why do you feel that gathering on the circle with your motorcycles is like a cool way to stunt? It is. But
Because
tell
I
us,
love
like,
seeing them.
what you,
Yeah.
right, like, what drew you out here to do that? And then what do you want to see from that experience? So beyond, like, you know, again, I'm just going to use the same examples beyond the Strawberry Festival, because I only worked downtown for like a year and a half before the pandemic. So I've never been able to go. So what does that look like? How can we get more residents in our city involved in these downtown activations, or how can we make new activations? What does it look like when we get our motorcycle clubs out here with their like national and local and regional conferences? And how can we make sure, very specifically, with our Black people out there, our people of color, when we gather, we don't always feel safe, because sometimes there is not safety in numbers, because it looks like a threat. So how do we communicate that to our city officials, um, to say, we're just out here kicking it, we having a good time, or we're out here, exercising our rights to protest, and we would like to see these things happen based on these experiences that we've had, again, good or bad. And how can we build on that to make this a more equitable space, not just for the residents of downtown Indianapolis, not just for the people that work down there, but for everybody in the city, everybody in the county and the surrounding areas. Like, what does that look like? And I think the question kind of came up of where are the people of color in downtown Indianapolis? And we're here. We're here. Well, I say here, generally. Obviously, I'm at home, but we're downtown. Always been. But are you looking in the right spaces? And I think that's the point of Monumental Voices, is because we think that these things are landmarks and these things are pillars in our city. And like, why don't we see more Black and brown faces? And it's like, sometimes we just do our own thing. I think a primary example of one of the spaces that we highlight, or, would like to get feedback about, is Lugar Plaza. I had someone tell me that they did not want to kick it at Lugar Plaza because there's a whole bunch of Black people locked up in the jail across the street.
Wow.
Factual. But I also like the fact that, the She event has been out there, and they'll be out there actually, again this Friday,
Oh,
putting a
good.
different spin on that space. Again, Black people and people of color and other people from walks of life are across the street at the bus station. But maybe we don't know that we can utilize that space at Lugar Plaza, and we can. So I think making sure that everybody knows that they have access to those spaces is important. And aside from like what the city can do or what other organizations can do, it's like you are free to roam about these places, and do what you would like. And not just with the access, but again, to know that we're safe. Because if I want to be here in a gathering with my friends, I don't want to feel like I'm going to be questioned or scrutinized about why I'm down here. And I think those are kind of, not that in particular, but those are a little bit more of the experiences that we want to hear about. We'll go hang out in the backyard any day. But again, getting together, it's like, are we safe to do this? With the exchange a couple of years ago, we went on like a little rafting trip a couple of times, which was awesome, hosted by Indiana Humanities and several of their partners. And we saw people in the White River, especially like in the Broad Ripple area, in the water, dogs, kids, everybody, like literally in the water, playing, having a good time. And we're like, you can do that down here? We didn't know. Um, Again, now that we know, do we feel safe enough to do that? Probably not. But at least we know
You just
that,
want the option.
right, the
Yes.
option to do those things. And it's like, sometimes it feels like these things are like just secrets. So the point of Monumental Voices is to say that, yes, these spaces are open to everybody. We want them to be utilized by everybody. And we want the people in Indianapolis to help us shape the future narrative and the vision of these four spaces. I had a friend ask me about the project and if just representatives of organizations can like participate. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, you live in Indianapolis. You are a representative of Indianapolis. So you need to participate. Like, this is your voice. This is not, all the higher ups and all the corporate and the people that we see all the time. Like, this is literally individuals that we're wanting to hear from, because these, ideal future programmings are for you. They're for us. They're for your future children, for your children now. They're for our grandparents. They're for everybody. So we need to hear from everybody about what they want to happen in these spaces.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I noticed, I'm looking at the site and I'd been scrolling on it earlier. There
Mm-hmm.
are so many different stories and pictures. It's kind of hard to show it to you guys, so I'll leave it there. This illustration is beautiful of people sitting there at the
Mm-hmm.
circle. And I submitted a story as well to Monumental Voices, and one of the things that I talked about was the fact that my relationship with downtown is very complicated. Growing up, in the way that I grew up, downtown was more like a every once in a while type of visit. It is not a place, and has not been a place for a long time, where there are tons of affordable options for large families to enjoy, outside of some of the free amenities, which there are way more now than there were when I was coming up. Like, I think there was the circle and the library, and that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty much it. When the mall opened up, being able to walk through the mall, but even then, as a teenager, going back to your point, not feeling welcomed. Back when we used to walk around during Expo and Classic, again, not feeling welcomed. And I think that there is a level of historic, maybe if it wasn't overt, but maybe covert segregation that existed, that now transfers generationally, to where sometimes there's not, people of color don't feel comfortable down there. I also talked about how now that I'm older, have some access to disposable income and stuff. Downtown is different to me now. Now it's like, okay, I go down there to turn up with my friends every once in a blue moon. But I do think that it's great that these stories are being captured, and that hopefully something is going to be done with them to bring people down there. I think that it's super important to remember, like you said earlier, these spaces belong to all of us that are here in the city, even visitors. These spaces belong to us, so we should be engaging with them and bringing ourselves and our personalities and our culture to it as well. I wonder, for people that are listening, what is going to be the next step after all of this feedback is captured? What's going to happen after that?
Yeah, so the website is a living and breathing document of what people submit. So every time someone submits something, there's people on the back end that are uploading that. So even after the project kind of dies down, from like this big push, it's still there. Like, still submit, still send your ideas and your thoughts. All of this information is then going to go over to the city, very specifically um, now I forgot the department that does all the development in the city. Um,
Yes.
I have DWD on the brain because I'm still traumatized by unemployment from COVID.
Listen. It sounds like it really took everybody for a doozy. Like,
Yes,
how much
seriously.
more stressful can you make it in the middle of a damn pandemic? Like, it ain't stressful
Yes.
enough already.
The Department of Metropolitan Development, that's going to go
Yes.
to them. And, they're going to see people's feedback. What they do with that information, that's in their hands. But we're hoping
Hmm.
that they see this and they make more of an effort um, to actually serve the people of Indianapolis. So there was a focus group, kind of like when all of this got started last year. And one of the big pieces of feedback that stuck out to me, because I'm in hospitality, is that people felt like Indianapolis was positioned as a convention or a tourism city. And that's
Hmm.
very true. That's not a lie. There's no mystery about that. But the residents of Indianapolis felt like they were not welcome at those events or at those activations. And I think the first time where we really felt like, yay, we can go out and do this and do the thing and have fun was at March Madness.
And they
Can't
did an
aside.
excellent job. I
Yes, they
think a
did.
big part of that, just a quick aside, was the intentionality behind including the community from the
Mm-hmm.
forefront in all of the activations, and not just after the fact put a splash on the news. Oh, bring your family down if you want
Right.
to. I guess it was baked in the cake from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Yeah.
Totally right. Like when I was down there several times. So once, like not as a volunteer, and they're like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" And we're like, "We're from here." She was like, "Oh, everyone's saying that." She was like very disappointed that we're actually from Indianapolis. Um,
Wow.
so it's like, I know you want visitors, but like this is also fun for us too.
Yep.
And I think that's the point. Like we want to feel like we can participate in the stuff that's happening down the street. And I, again, you have your event organizers, you have your other organizations that are doing these things. But again, how can we bring this to the people that are actually living here?
Hmm.
Um, we talk about the dollars that are coming in from all these events and blah, blah, blah. And like, yes, it's going back to the people that work the events. Yes, it's going back to the businesses. And like everybody has like their foundation project that, makes an impact on a community or on a school or on a business when they're here. But what about the city at large? Like, how
Yeah.
can we benefit from some of these things that are coming in? And if we can't, that's fine. But at least send an invitation to everybody to hang out. Don't just say that this is coming. Like, we want everybody down here. Also on the website, if you scroll and scroll and scroll, there's a restaurant owner on Georgia Street. Um, and he's like, the same thing. So even from the business perspective, he's like, Georgia Street is cool. Our business is cool, but we're only busy when there are events. So
Mm.
like, how can we get more people downtown to Georgia Street, that are locals, so that we can obviously, like, meet their revenue goals, but we want to have fun too.
Yeah.
Um, so like, how can we get more people out? And it not be just because everybody's at the convention center or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
Mm-hmm.
passing through, leaving them damn scooters all over the sidewalk.
Everywhere.
I'm just like, oh, you people have no home training. But that is another thing to bitch about for another day. Tierra, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. Shout out to you, the whole team at Monumental Voices, gang culture, everybody that's involved. Thank you again for your time and all the work that you're doing and bringing awareness around this initiative.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And just before we roll off again, you can visit monumentalvoices.org to share your perspective and your feedback and your hopes and wishes, as big as they can be, for downtown Indianapolis. Very specifically, again, Monument Circle, Georgia Street, the Canal, and Luger Plaza. If you've never been to those spaces, just drive around and say, I think it would be cool to kick it out here. There are people that play soccer at Luger Plaza, and I think it's awesome.
Mhm.
Beyond just walking on the canal, maybe take the time to read some of the information that's down there at the war monuments, because it's actually really awesome. Again, the circle, we know that. Take time to go up in the monument itself and look out over the city if that's open, or at least visit the gift shop. And for Georgia Street is bomb. Hang out at one of the bars. I'm just gonna do a shout out to Hotbox Pizza, because like Hotbox, if you
Yes,
want
get
some of
the
that, just go
Dixie
to that
chick.
one. Yes, the Dixie Chick is delicious.
Yes. Yep.
Or any of the other bars up and down there, just bop around
Get
and
some
have a good
oysters at
time.
Pier 48.
Pier 48 is actually really good. Um, District Tap, all that. I mean, we could name them all off, but just take the time to visit. It's going to be nice this weekend as long as it doesn't rain. So take a walk outside.
Absolutely. And even if it do, just grab your umbrella and come on out and have a good time. But yeah, thank you again, Tierra. Definitely appreciate it. You all be sure to go on to monumentalvoices.org to share your real feedback. Don't hold back anything, the pros, the cons, all of it about downtown Indianapolis. But thank you again, Tierra. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thank each and every one of you for tuning in to What's Good with Ebony Chappelle. You can find out more about me and all things What's Good. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Ebony the Writer. Tierra, before we wrap up, are there any social media handles or anything that you want to promote for this project?
Yes, you can follow the exchange at the Indianapolis Urban League on all platforms. You can catch us at IUL Exchange on Instagram and Facebook, and the exchange at the Indianapolis Urban League on LinkedIn. For me, I don't post any good content, but if you would like to follow me somewhere, um, T. Raelyn, Raelyn on Instagram. Like I might put something cool up on my stories. I don't know, but I'm there.
We'll see. It'll be a surprise. All right, y'all. Have a great night and a positive week. Peace.